Very exciting night. I'm very excited to be here and very excited to celebrate a man of Bob's stature. So, but before we get going, we're going to start with the playing of the national anthem. So if you could please stand. Well, thank you once again for joining us here to celebrate Bob. And to start off with, when you think about Louisville football, you think about a lot of the great names and the legends that are associated with the blue and the white. There are many that come to mind. Guys like Mark Steyer, Ken Kuhn, Brian Beatty, Neil Seaman, a lot of legendary coaches like Rick Chrislip, Paul Farah, the legendary Paul Starkey. But there's one name that sets the standards for Louisville football. There's one name when you really think of the blue and the white comes to mind, and that's the legendary Bob Gladieux. Bob played for the Leopards from 1962 to 1964 and graduated in 1965. Playing for the Leopards, they finished with a total record of 29-1, and Bob in his senior year scored 196 points, state of Ohio in scoring, and also set a then Stark County record in points scored. He was a two-time All-Ohioan, including a first-teamer his senior year, as well as Stark County Player of the Year, as well as a Parade All-American. And the list of accomplishments just keep going on and on. But a side note to that, his team, his senior year, outscored their opponents 420 to 24. Never heard a stat like that, Bob. I'll be honest with you. That's incredibly ridiculous. But we are here to celebrate those accomplishments, as well as his collegiate career as he went on to play at Notre Dame and win a national championship, and then continue on to the professionals. So quite a storied career, and we're going to hear a lot about it tonight. So we're going to begin. The first person to come up and speak is a 1991 graduate who played for the Leopards and was a longtime assistant coach, also assistant coach at Mount Union, and is now currently in his third year here as the head coach of the Louisville Leopards. Please give a warm welcome to Troy Davis.
What an honor being here with the Leopard in terms of the standard of Leopard football. For me, as a head coach, you know, growing up here in Louisville, playing Little Leopards, playing for Rick Chrislip, coaching with Coach Farah, Coach Chrislip, you know, you hear all the stories of all the players that always played, but there's one, you know, guy that comes up in everybody's conversation, and that's your name. And it's fitting because, like I said, you set the standard for Leopard football. For me, my first time coming to a Louisville football game was my dad brought me in. The stadium was full. We were up the old bleacher aisle, and you can only sit in the walkway. because it was a full house in 1982. And for me, I saw the tradition of Leopard football. I wanted to be a part of it. And I was fortunate enough to play for a guy like Rick Christler and his brother, who implemented to us what it was like to be a Leopard and brought up guys like you and talked about the legend that you left on the field. One of the things we talk a lot about in Leopard football is tradition. And with tradition, you're given tradition as a player. Our players up here are given the tradition of Leopard football. And it's their job to uphold that tradition. It's their job to emulate the things that you did on the field, to try to strive to be like you, to set that standard. And we're excited that our players work hard to do that every day. And if they don't, it makes us a little bit upset. We want to be more like you. In addition, we wanted to show you, give you some thank you things for being here with us today. We give you our Leopard football T-shirt for this year. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. And then we have a game-used game ball signed by our seniors for you. In addition, we were going through the locker room, and we do have a helmet, jersey, and shoulder pads if you can still run the football. No, thank you. But again, we're just honored that you're here with us today. Our kids are here to hear you, because they play Leopard football because they've heard stories about guys like you and the tradition and what you put into Leopard football. We appreciate that. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you, Troy. After Troy speaking, we wanted to also just acknowledge two of our legendary coaches here tonight. First and foremost, head coach in the 90s, player for the Leopards as well in the early 70s, Rick Christler. And a player in the 80s and coaching the Leopards through the early 2000s, for the first decade of the 2000s, and both of them with tremendous success. Including Rick leading us to the first playoff appearance and playoff win, and Coach Farrow with some incredible runs, including one to the state finals back in 2007. Coach Paul Farrow. All right, up next, we have the Director of Communications at Jackson High School. Don't hold that against him. But more importantly, he's on the selection committee for the Stark County Hall of Fame and knows everything you want to know about Stark County football history here. Let me introduce you to Todd Porter.
Thank you, Troy. I'd like to start by talking a little bit about history because we've got a lot of current players here. I think it's very important that the young guys have a great appreciation for the history that you guys get to be a part of. When you think about how many people played high school football in Stark County, you're talking 30, 40,000 over the years. And then when you think about how many great football players came from each of those high schools, you're easily talking thousands. So you can imagine in 2002, 2001, really, how daunting the task was to start the Stark County High School Football Hall of Fame, where none of those players were inducted in a Stark County Football Hall of Fame. So you start with the greats of Stark County who have been enshrined in the Football Hall of Fame. Paul Brown, Len Dawson, Marion Motley, Alan Page, Dan Deerdorf. And then you start to think about the greatest of the greats. And when you talk about Stark County football history, no conversation is complete without talking about Louisville's contribution. And really, when you think about it, in Stark County, when you're talking about the great history, there are three schools that you start that conversation with. I don't need to mention the first two, but I can guarantee you Louisville is in that conversation of the three football schools that you talk about. And then when you talk about that conversation starts with Bob Gladieux. So please Understand when I talk to you about Stark County High School football's Mount Rushmore, with Paul Brown and Marion Motley and Alan Page and Dan Deerdorf and Chris Spielman. Right there, addressing the players here now, is Bob Gladieux, who played at Louisville High School. So you hear about those names in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You hear about Chris Spielman, but Bob Gladieux is right there on the Mount Rushmore of Stark County High School football. So when we were talking about that first class, which I believe was a class of 14, there was consensus among the group of selectors that Bob Gladieux be included in that class. As a senior in 1964, as we've heard, Bob led Louisville to its first unbeaten and untied season since 1949. He was also instrumental during a 38-game winning streak. He was a record-setting running back and a touchdown-scoring machine. He went on to a great college career at Notre Dame, and then in the AFL and the NFL after that. Think about this. After the 1964 season, Louisville had a head coach that went to Kent State to continue his career, a lineman who went to Ohio State, and Bob Gladieux became a star and an everyday name when you talk about college football in the 60s at Notre Dame. Bob Gladieux isn't just the best football player to come from this tradition-steeped program. He earned 9 letters in football, basketball, and baseball. Both of his basketball and football numbers were retired at this school. My friends, it is my great honor to be here to represent these group of selectors for the Stark County High School Football Hall of Fame on this great night for Bob Gladieux. Bob, thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Much appreciated. All right, next up, in the same line of just incredible backs to come through Louisville High School, whether it starts with the one Bob Gladieux or a Tom Klebeck or a Mike Klebeck or a Rick Chrislip. This one is special to me because I graduated with this guy. I graduated in 1993, a 3-year two-way starter for the Leopards, a first-team All-Ohioan, a Stark County MVP, as well as an NBC and Canton Repository Player of the Year, and just a teammate of mine in football, basketball, and baseball, more importantly, a friend of mine for a lifetime. And now currently the president of the Louisville Leopard Touchdown Club. Let me introduce you to Brian Beatty.
Thank you, John, for those kind words. True friendship, and those were great years. To start off, I'd like to thank Dr. Mike for putting all this together today in Leopard Lair. We appreciate everything you do for Leopard football. When I was asked to introduce Bob and be part of this celebration, I was honored. It was overwhelming. My thoughts begin when I was a young kid here at Louisville, someday dreaming to play football. And you know, you always heard the name Bobby Gladieux, and you know, you didn't have the internet and YouTube like you do now, so he was kind of a ghost. No one knew really who this Bobby Gladieux was, and I know he was something special. As I got older into grade school, I became very close friends with the Gladieux family, and going out to Notre Dame games with my mom and dad. In the Gladieux, I was introduced to Bobby, and that was a great honor as a young kid. His dad, I always called him Grandpa Ted. He was like a second grandpa to me. Was a very special man also, and it was an honor to meet him as a young child, and you know, just be in the same area, tailgate with him was special. And I remember as a 5th grader playing Little Leopards in the Rams. I said I wanted number 31, and that was going to be my number. And unfortunately, they didn't have 31, so I ended up with number 10. But I remember, and Bobby probably doesn't remember this, we were out at a tailgate once, and he knew I wanted to be a running back, and he came up to me and he hollered at one of his buddies there at Notre Dame and said, "Grab me a football." And he grabbed him a football, and he showed me the eagle claw, how to hold a football. And that was the first interaction I had about football with Bobby Gladieux. He showed me the eagle claw with tip and the 3 pressure points. And it's been an honor to know him as my life went on and my career. He was one of the very first people to call me after I won Stark County MVP to WHBC. I remember coming home and Bobby Gladieux was on the phone to congratulate me, and that was something special. And I knew at that time, as I got older, I wanted to continue to give back to Leopard football like Bobby did. And I enjoy coaching in the touchdown club. But that's something I think we've all taken pride in as a Leopard. And you gentlemen up there, that are players now, there's a lot of people looking up at you, but as you go in your career, they're going to continue looking up to you. I've had a great honor to know the Gladieux family through the years. His wife Inga is here tonight. Their daughter Molly, I used to babysit when they was over at the Gladieux. So it's been a neat ride, and to see this tonight, it's something very special. It's an honor, and just happy to be here. We thank you for everything you've done for Leopard football, and you continue to do. And I know when we make a Facebook post and Bobby likes it and puts "Go Leps," I get goosebumps every time. So I'm glad you interact with us still, even if it's on Facebook. So that's great. So, but it's a great honor. This night's yours, and congratulations. Thank you. Yep, appreciate it.
And without further ado, let me introduce you to Bob Gladieux. Bob, the mic is yours. Beautiful evening. Can't tell you. How much this means to me. Louisville football has been a way of life for me, and I think for a lot of people to walk through these gates, put on these helmets, and work these owls and referee, that there's a way to do things, and that's the right way. And I learned that by doing it by the right way, the way the Louisville Leopards have done things, is the way that you become winners. And that's something that I've learned from the very beginning at the program here that was started by some of the people that are here tonight. And you know who you are. The Little Leopards, tremendous program, and I understand that it's been difficult at times to keep the boys interested and attending, but they're going to be at full strength this year. And that program, is tutored and taught on the system that is used by the varsity football team. And I'm sure you youngsters in those blue and black jerseys, you Leopard football players, have been through the program. And you know what it's done for you.
And it's got you to the point now where you're sitting in these seats as you are tonight. And it's a tremendous program. And it's all done by volunteers from the coaches that, like I say, you know who you are, and some are here tonight that taught me. And it's been really something special, believe me. To be able to come back here and to see what a wonderful job you've done with this facility here. Look at it. There's nothing like it, you guys. You guys should be so proud of this. What an honor to play in this stadium, to play for the Louisville Leopards. I mean, if I could put the helmet on again, run out that tunnel, I tell you, it would be nothing like it. Nothing like it. And the Louisville High Marching Band, Friday night with the band playing, the fans packed around this stadium, all around. There's nothing like it for a young man, a young boy like you to experience. How fortunate you young boys are, and young men, to be able to play in the Louisville Leopard program. I tell you, it's because of this community. The community with the parents and the people that care about Louisville football, and about other programs associated with the high school. It's the people that make this town what it is. It's tremendous, because once you get outside here and you get into other places in the world, this country, it gets very difficult and very challenging with all that's going on out there, with the gun control and the racism and the breaking and enterings. And my God, to watch the news is terrible. You hate to watch it. It's depressing at night. But I tell you, I think about Louisville, going back to Louisville. I know it sometimes it's not hopping on a Thursday, Friday night, but you can go to Canton or Youngstown or somewhere. You know, but here is a place where you develop young people, where families are. They care for their children and their kids, and they want them to grow and learn right. And boy, that was what I was able to do here and what I received. And look, and this facility and stadium, it just floors me. I mean, you'd be so proud at Louisville, what you have here. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, I'm so proud to say that I played football for the Louisville Leopards. I mean, and what a testament that this stadium is. I'm here tonight because of a very, 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 very special person that I want you all to meet. And that's my wife, Ingeborg. Inga is, she's a German lady that when she was 21 years old, she was the youngest flight attendant ever for Lufthansa Airlines from Germany to work in the first class and handle the first class passengers. She was outstanding. She spoke 5 languages. She traveled all over the world, Africa, Australia, Nova Scotia, all the time while staying 5-6 nights in between flights and learning the countries, the destinations, the cultures, the languages, the people. What an education there is in travel. And how fortunate it was for me. For it was when the day she says, I do. Ladies and gentlemen, my wife, Inga Gladieux. Stand up, honey. I was having a difficult time trying to get my thoughts together on how to handle this evening. And finally, I put the pen down. I says, Bobby, once you get in that stadium, you're going to just relax because you're going to be home. And it'll be a lot easier for you then. And I tell you, it's great to be back. And what a top opportunity I see for you guys in blue and your black leopards, you know. If there's one thing I can ask of you guys in the blue and the black is if you could put your feet on the floor and sit up straight, please. And look like a winner. Because when you sit down here and you look up there and see guys slouched down with their feet up on a chair in front of you, you're sending a bad message. You may not know it, but we know it. We all know it down here because we can see you. I'm sure your coach appreciates it too. And I thank you very much. Continue to lead by example. People will be looking up to you guys. Be aware of your actions, of how you behave and what you do, because you'll be in the eye, you'll be in the spotlight. You play for the Louisville Leopards. You know, so continue to strive to do the things that you can improve on individually as a person, as developing yourself and your stature. And as you do in your football program, gelling with your teammates and getting that camaraderie where you become one. You can do it by working hard and doing what's right. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I really do, yeah. I'm looking at some winners now. I can tell you that. You look like some winners. Thank you very much. My high school career was a pretty good ride. We were very, very fortunate for Hap Lillick to come over here from Massillon, Ohio, coach the Leopards. We're very fortunate to have some tremendous talent with some of the great players. If I start naming them, you guys know who they are. The players, and Bobby, you know, talent we had here in that era was something to talk about. And the coaching staff was Hap and Paul Starkey, Ray Bellisari, our defensive coach, can't recall right now. There's nothing like it. It's a Friday night in Louisville Stadium. There's nothing like it. And the great memories that I have, and I'm sure you former players and you young men there in the stands look forward to. There's someday I hope maybe I can come back for a ball game. I really do. For me to go on and play at the University of Notre Dame was a dream come true. I don't know how many me and Mark Steyer, you know, are two that played for national champions. And I had the pleasure to be recruited by Woody Hayes, who was a true gentleman. a wonderful coach who's recruited me so heavily. And but my father, Ted, who was a die-hard Notre Dame man, that there's nothing I heard of growing up than was Notre Dame football. When I was just sixth, fifth grader, and Dad used to go to Notre Dame games when they played in New York City. And he and his buddies would, they'd pack up the van, and they'd get 2 5-gallon cans of gasoline. Go down to the gas station, fill up it with gas. And I says, Dad, what's all the gasoline for? He said, we're going to the Notre Dame game in New York. I said, well, so? You got gas? I said, just pull over and get some gasoline when you need gas. And he goes, well, Bobby, not all the gasoline stations have gasoline. He says, you might be running out of gas. You pull over and the gas station, the tanks are empty. So we bring our own gas. So he's been there, done that. So he must have run out of gas a few times, at least once. But and then Dad was going to Notre Dame games before Notre Dame Stadium was built in 1930. He went to games when they were played in Cartier Field, where I used to practice. That's how much Dad loved Notre Dame football. And when Dad was in his mid-90s, I was taking him to Notre Dame games in his wheelchair. We'd get down there on a Friday night. I says, Dad, you want to go down and have a pizza and a beer or something? He said, no, Bobby, I'm going to bed. I got a game tomorrow. Yeah, I got a game tomorrow. I got to be ready. So we'd take Dad and he'd go on to bed. We'd go out and have a few pops and get back. I'd roll him up in that wheelchair section. And it was beautiful. I mean, you're sitting and the fans could stand up and jump around and raise heck. They weren't in their eye level. They'd never see us. And the usher would come around and say, Mr. Gladieux, could I get you some popcorn or a soda or anything? And Dad says, well, sure, I'd have a soda pop. And now I'm spoiled. That's the only way I want to go see a game anymore, is in the wheelchair section, because there's nothing like it, I'm telling you. That's what I tell my wife. Oh, we got to go in the wheelchair section. But boy, how fortunate I was to play here at Louisville, Hap Lillick and the Leopards, and go on to Notre Dame. And my professional career, you know, the 4 years with the Patriots, you know, what an experience. Played with Joe Cap, which was Joe and I he was a wonderful, great competitor. What a man he was. He would, boy, he'd drink whiskey and fight. He didn't matter anything with him. Boy, he was a winner all the way. What a pleasure to play with Joe and the different players. World Football League and those other leagues in Canada. That was more or less having a good time at the end, you know. But there's nothing like being able to come back here and see you guys. And thank you, Louisville Leopards, for dedicating yourself to the program, to do your very best to fight, to win for Louisville, Ohio. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bobby. Well, I tell you what, before we have one last presentation, I just wanted to share a little something as well. And I had the good fortune of being able to interview Bob for about an hour before this presentation, and it was one of the greatest honors of my life because it's just a guy you've heard about a lot. I've heard a lot about Bob Gladieux, but to actually get to know the man over the course of those hours and just see a life just shrouded with honesty and humility and appreciation for where he came from, but not only appreciation for where he came from, but blooming where God planted him later on in life. And I tell you what, it was one of the greatest hours of my life. So Bob, I really appreciate that. Well, that being said, this also gives me a great honor to let Bob know, because he doesn't know yet, but to let Bob know we appreciate your greatness here at Louisville. And for that, you are now the first member of the Ring of Honor here at Louisville Stadium. Congratulations. Congratulations, Bob. And now if we could all stand, we're going to end this night with the Louisville alma mater. Well, thank you for joining us for a night with Bob Gallagher. Have a good night, everybody.